Welcome, gamers, to this week's episode of Last Call Gaming. We're at episode number 142. Today is August 8th. My name is Craig Perales, and joining me, as always, Andrew Montemayor.
Don't let the long shirt fool you. It feels like it's 142 outside.
Are you burning? Are you sweating already?
I'm fine right now, but at work, I sit right under the AC, so it's like ice fucking cold in there.
Nice. I do want to just say that, again, our episode is a little later than normal, which I think is fine around here. But, Andrew, we got to give you a big shout-out. Celebrated his, what anniversary would this be?
10 years together.
10 years strong? And you went to, where'd you say you went to? Gordon Ramsay's?
Yeah, we went to Hell's Kitchen in Las Vegas. Both of us like to watch. I'm not like diehard for it, but I do like to watch Hell's Kitchen or some of his other shows. I just like Gordon Ramsay's like content in general. Yeah. I think he's really funny, especially too with just how vicious he is sometimes. Because I feel like what I like about him is the same thing I like about Ink Master. I don't like seeing the good tattoos. I just like that's a sack of shit. Just get torn apart. That's my favorite thing, and that's all he's about. So that restaurant, if you ever get a chance in Vegas, was like fucking amazing.
Does the price match the food quality?
I felt like it.
He sent me a snap of that beef Wellington. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, I had to get the beef. He's always about it on the show, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to see what the fuss is about. And that was the best steak I've ever had in my life. It was so... I didn't think it could be that good, and it was that good.
I like all of that. And I do want to point out, speaking of Ink Master, did you see that the new season's airing, I think, like September 12th or something like that?
I still need to watch the old ones, and I think we're going to start binging that like this week.
Yeah, because it said that there's going to be new... I don't know if it said host or hosts, but I know they're obviously replacing Peck. And then they're going to have like all brand new judges and stuff like that for the show. So I hope it's not too different because I like the formula.
Right. Especially to some of the later ones, like I was telling you, where they do like the East and the Northwest and stuff. But I'm not that big into tattoos, so I don't know if I'll watch it.
This guy. So, guys, thank you for joining us. If you're watching it on the YouTube channel, make sure you guys hit like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell. If you guys are interested in following us on any of our social media, which we've been more active on as of late, our Linktree link is in the description. And if you guys are listening to the audio-only version of the podcast, check us out on any podcast platform you prefer, but Anchor is the home for us, and from there, you can definitely support the show. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm ready to start.
Let's get going, guys. So before we dive into what we want to talk about, Andrew and I do, what are you up to? Where we take a minute and kind of just recap what we've been playing, what we've been watching, if we got anything cool happening. So, Andrew, it's been a full week since I've seen you. What have you been up to?
Even though I've been going on about it for a while, I finally finished Final Fantasy X. Again, a lot of it was just cutscenes. I'd already like kind of grinded my way out, so the ending I just like cruised. So I think I died one time, but I kind of put myself in an unwinnable situation by like casting the wrong shit, and I just wasn't paying attention.
So what, fighting the last boss? Were you fighting?
It was the second to last boss. Spoiler alert, when you fight Jack as Braska's like summon, and I had him down, but then I just kind of I just wasn't paying attention to cast stuff wrong, that like he was just healing too much more than the damage I was doing. After a while I was just like, yeah, I'm just over it. So I let him kill me, and then the second time I just fucking ran through him.
There you go.
And so it was pretty easy. Then from there I wasn't looking at it because I had just done a long game. I was like, what's something that's been sitting on a while, and I had it on my shelf, but it's also on the Game Pass, was The Walking Dead: The New Frontier. I know I talked about this a while ago because I had started it, and I just restarted it again because I didn't even make it that far. And it was actually really refreshing, and maybe too because I'm playing it on a Series X. It's not like it runs amazing, but it wasn't a slog like the Walking Dead games used to be. So I was like, man, this is a lot more refreshing. Obviously, there's still just a little bit of jank, but it didn't feel like it was just taking forever to do everything. That I actually had a really good time playing it, and I actually think so far, because I just started the final season is what they call it. I'm only like halfway into the first episode, but I think that this third one was actually my favorite one.
Nice.
It was actually really, really good, and I don't know why I sat on it for so long, because I bought that game too forever ago, and usually we used to play them when they came out, so I don't know what came out or what happened that we weren't doing them. That after playing it, I was like, man, I almost kind of miss this, but maybe I miss it more now, because there's not 30 Telltale games coming out at one time like there was at that time frame. So retroactively, I like this a lot more now than I think I would have then. And then other than that, I actually watched Prey, which is the new Predator movie, and I really, really loved it. I know you watched it as well, so maybe you want to tell us what you're doing, and then we'll kind of segue into that.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. And I do want to point out, is the Frontier, that's the one where they introduced the new character, and like it actually had different storylines, right? Because Clementine's still in it, but she's not the main character.
Clementine is in it, but she's not the main character. The main character is Javi.
That's what I was trying to remember. I'm like, I know I beat that one. I was just trying to remember which in my head where it was. So as far as what I've been watching, and we'll get into Prey here in a second, is the Harley Quinn Season 3 just came out. It's on HBO Max. I think it airs on Thursdays, but it premiered on July 28th. It launched with 3 episodes, which is the formula that I like. I think there's 4 episodes that are out now. Dude, it is hilarious. Did you ever dive into Harley Quinn at all?
I don't think so. Christina just started it the other day, so I've been meaning to. I don't know. I take forever to start anything.
It is so funny, and it's hardcore rated R. So, like, if you're looking at it, like, on a trailer, it's not like watching Batman the Animated Series or Superman the Animated Show. It's dude, there's constant joke. Dude, Jim Gordon is hilarious because he's, like, an idiot. And at this point, dude, like... He easily is one of the funniest characters. There's a point where he sees Bruce Wayne wearing a mask, and he goes like, wait a minute, I know that jawline, I know those shoulders, and you think he's gonna think it's Batman. He's like, oh, Bruce, what are you doing here? But it's, dude, I don't know if you've seen all The Boys, yes?
No, I haven't even watched that.
Oh, so if anyone's familiar with The Boys, there's an episode they do that's called Herogasm, which is this big orgy fest.
I know, I'm familiar.
Harley Quinn just did an episode that was similar to that. So it's definitely a rated R DC show, so don't watch it with your kids. But it's been hilarious, and it's a show that I'm glad is back on the air because it was in a hiatus. As far as what I've been playing, I've been trying to juggle balancing the PS5, the Switch, and the Xbox kind of like a game at a time. And on the Switch, because I haven't beaten a game on there in a minute, I've been looking. I have the online, so I have the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo games. So I finally played Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which
saw that.
Yeah, which was released in '91 in Japan and '92 in North America and Europe. And I get it. I get what all the hype's about. And as a kid, I mean, I have Link to the Past. I mean, I have my original copy of Zelda right here. But as a kid playing with Geno, like, we never beat it. Like, we would play it all the time. It looks great. It sounds great. But I never beat it. So it was one of those days where I was just like, all right, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to actually knock this game out so I can add it to the list. And I will admit that I did play it with a guide. Like, I wish I wrote down the name of the channel, but this dude has tons of walkthroughs for Super Nintendo and Nintendo games. So I did it with the guide, and I also did it with the rewind ability that you can do with the Switch. And so, I mean, I wasn't trying to, like, explore it 100% on my own, but, like, this dude got everything. So I found every heart. I found all the weapons. I went to all the caves. So I get why this game is on a lot of people's top 5 and some people's number 1. It was amazing to play. So my next game I want to do is what did I say it was going to be? Super Metroid. I never did that one either, so that'll be the next one. But dude, Zelda was a breath of fresh air.
See, I knew you'd like this one because you liked Link's Awakening, and Link's Awakening originally started as a port of A Link to the Past to the Game Boy.
Yeah,
But due to hardware constraints and stuff like that, they turned it into its own thing and made whatever they made. And again, that's my favorite Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, because Link's Awakening was awesome, and I'm like, yeah, this is the feels. This is the same type of vibe. But it's the quest of bringing people stuff and using all the good weapons. And I know a lot of people like Breath of the Wild and Twilight Princess and stuff like that, but like it was refreshing to play like the 16-bit style.
I love that game.
Zelda. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. So let's dive back into Prey. Where do you want to start with this?
I love the movie. I don't know how many Predators are you a big Predator fan?
I love number 1, and I think
one is amazing.
I think I've seen AVP. And that's probably about it.
You've never seen 2?
I don't think I've ever seen 2.
With Danny Glover and Gary Busey and his big teeth. 1 is amazing. Everyone says 2, you can kind of take or leave. AVP has its place for people. I love Alien vs. Predator. Then there's Predators with Adrian Brody.
That's the newer one, yeah.
Where they're on a separate planet. Then there's The Predator. But a lot of people have said they kind of don't like the last few Predator movies. They haven't really been that good. I liked Predators where it's on the planet, but I thought this movie totally did Predator justice. Like, I loved every second of it. I liked the idea of how, because at first my big deal with it was, okay, well, how's a Predator it's got so much advanced technology, how is it, how would these people even stand a chance? But everything they do totally makes sense within the confines of the film. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, I don't feel like, oh, they're just doing it just for a movie. Like, it makes sense that maybe at that time he's not using the laser, but he has the laser beam, but it's the not a fucking cannon. It's like the 3 like arrow, like the metal arrow things, but he still uses all this other stuff, even the net. I'm like, oh man, like the way that the tribe, the Comanche people are able to fight him makes complete sense versus just trying to shoehorn in something to make it fit within, okay, well, we want to do this timeline just to do it.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I liked about it was not only was it a return to form of like survival and you know, you versus the predator, was they didn't make him just a savage killer in the context of if you weren't worth fighting, he didn't fight you. And I thought that was a great aspect because it was kind of like her motivation kind of through the movie of, am I a fighter or am I not? So I really like the warrior aspect of that. I do like all the gadgets. I do like the place and time they used. And what I was trying to figure out, because I was reading that there's 2 versions. There's one that is in their language and then one that's in English. And I wanted to watch it in their language, but on Hulu, all I could find was the English one with the subtitles and stuff.
I don't think that it's out there yet, but I did write that down there. Okay. For those of you who do want to watch it, I don't know if it's out yet, but there is a Comanche dub. Because I saw some people, oh, it's so unbelievable. I'm like, dude, just watch the fucking movie and enjoy it, or otherwise just wait. That is something that they are working on, which is just as cool.
Now, let me ask you this, because I wasn't sure, because I watch movies with subtitles. Well, I guess I won't say anything. I don't want to spoil anything because I guess this would be a spoiler. But yeah, overall, man, that movie was awesome. I like how a lot of people are calling it. Did you guys see the new Pocahontas versus Predator movie? Yeah. I was dying, and I thought she was a great actress. I mean, she's obviously they're all authentic Native Americans, so I don't know. I thought the authenticity to the movie was cool. I liked that it was practical effects. I liked that they were using a lot of on-scene locations and stuff like that. It wasn't a green screen, so it was nice seeing, you know, actual water and trees, and they were using natural light. The CGI was a little off for me. I mean, it's in the trailer, so I don't think this would be a spoiler, but that bear to me was just like a tad bit off, especially after seeing things like The Remnant, where I know it could be a better looking bear.
I think something that leads into that, and what I want to commend this movie for too, is for like a Hulu released movie, which would be, I don't know, maybe like a straight to video movie back in the day, or like modern time straight to DVD or something like that, is absolutely great. Other than, some of the CGI is a little long, but again, this wasn't like a big theater movie trying to recoup its budget so for what it is, I think this should have been a theater movie. It is that good.
Yeah, some people are saying it's their favorite movie of the year, and I wouldn't blame you for it. It probably wouldn't be mine. The other thing I was talking to Andrew about earlier is it's got a nice runtime too. I was going on there thinking, fuck, if this thing's like 2.5 hours, I don't know if it's going to keep me, but I think it's an hour and 30 minutes, give or take, and I was like, they used all the time, like, correctly. It was like, there was never a lull moment. Even the down parts was like, still explaining the story and moving the narrative along, so I was like, I enjoyed it front to back.
I think people say, like, you can't compare apples to oranges, but comparing apples to oranges, this movie held my attention and was far better than the last Thor movie, which had millions of dollars behind it. This was the far superior movie, which is almost kind of an embarrassing thing to put in an aspect. Yeah, and I think it's interesting to show that you don't have to have these huge budgets to make good content, because this is a clear showing that, you know, sticking to the basics works. And it's kind of sad that it didn't get a theatrical. I mean, maybe it did. I don't think it came out the theater. I don't think so. I think it was just
because I would have loved to have seen that movie in theater, like all the combat and the clicking and, you know, all the noises, like, would have been nice to hear in a fucking like big amped up theater.
Right. I'll for sure say, if you have not watched this movie, definitely do yourself a favor, especially if you're a big Predator fan. Watch it and let us know what you think, because I thought this movie was absolutely amazing. Yeah, I loved it.
I think the brother was the coolest dude for me. I thought he was one of my favorite characters.
He was definitely dope, and the only thing I would say is cooler than him isn't the Predator itself, but just his like skull mask that he has. Dude,
that thing was sick. I want it. I need to get that for you, and that's gonna be your prize piece in your room.
Dude, that thing was super dope. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, so guys, leave your comments down below what you've been playing, what you've been watching. So with that being said, guys, normally we dive into big stories that we kind of put up together and we do riffs, but we had a lot of fun doing questions on the last episode that we did. So and we do get piled up, so I just wanted to take this episode to answer a few more questions so we can at least kind of start going through this list. So if you guys do want to submit questions for the show for us to answer on the episode, is you can leave it in the YouTube comment section down below where Andrew and I can pick those out and add them. You can email us at lastcallproductions@gmail.com. We can get them there. Or if you want to at me, at Craig Perales on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, I can pull your questions there and we can get them going.
And I do want to say too, I mean, leave questions about anything, whether it be personal things we like, comics. It doesn't have to be gaming related, or it could be gaming related and maybe something that we're not into. We're not the biggest Fortnite fans. If you're a big Fortnite fan and you maybe want to hear our opinion about it, I'll be more than happy to check out things that are like outside of my realm. I would never turn my nose up at something and be like, oh, that's just garbage. That's not for us. Especially if it's something that you're going to recommend. I'll at least check it out and I'll give you my honest opinion about it.
Yeah, definitely. And I did want to point out these particular questions are kind of I chose them because they are kind of revolving around kind of some news that's been going on, whether it be game or movies. So the first question comes from Barrington, who writes, a full 16 minutes of Gotham Knights gameplay was dropped a few days ago. I still think it looks okay. I'm not sold yet. Did this raise your hopes at all? You actually sent this to me first, so I saw it after you sent it to me. 16 minutes. I mean, I like that they did it. What were your initial thoughts?
Again, we're kind of going to delve into a little. If you're just trying to stay clear of the game, then I would maybe skip past this part because we're going to kind of dissect that a little bit. So if you want to go in blind completely, I would say go into the next question. But as far as I think I liked it a little bit more having seen it now, especially because they went into the whole segment is played with Batgirl, who by far now for me is my favorite character that I want to play as, even though she's kind of like, maybe it's just her voice when she's talking is a little like too Velma Dinkley-ish for me, but I actually really love her. I think they did a lot with this by, again, showing off the combat, but then they went a little bit more and showed some of the other stuff we haven't seen, like how in the classic Batman games, you have your detective mode and you're trying to figure things out. I liked the one puzzle that they showed where you're trying to find how to get into this like hidden room, and that it wasn't super simple, but it wasn't like crazy hard or anything like that. I felt like it was kind of just the right thing. Whereas like some of those old Batman puzzles, I'm sitting there like, fuck, man, I gotta follow this blood trail forever. I'm like, this kind of sucks and it isn't fun. So hopefully they kind of simplified some of that stuff. But then they did obviously show some of the deeper lore with Langstrom being the Man Bat. But there's also blood everywhere off the ground. So maybe we're gonna get, I don't want to say gore, but keep that kind of, okay, this mature is mature content. So this gave me a little bit more hope for that. Because that was my biggest thing going into this. Where I was like, I don't feel like this is maybe as mature or is like... And maybe, again, it's because it's... With the other Batmans, when he's hitting these people, it feels a little more bone crunchy. We kind of haven't got that from this yet. But I felt like this was a point in the right direction, that it did more for me. That I'm not 100% on it, but I'm like 75. I'm more optimistic than negative about it. I know you've been riding high on this a lot more than me. What do you think?
I actually think I am still super stoked for it. I gotta say, it wasn't what I was expecting. I don't think it looks as good as it should be.
So it's the opposite for you.
Well, I like what I saw. I like seeing the gameplay. I loved the detective mode stuff. I loved it was like, okay, not only are you going to be fighting, but like you're actually going to have to deduce things and pick up these kind of hints and tricks. But one of my biggest gripes was, like you were saying, there was a lot of talking in this. And I know Horizon Forbidden West just got reamed for how much constant talking that Aloy does, and I was instantly just like, man, are they going to do this with all these characters? And then the dialogue with all the villains was some of the dumbest stuff like I've ever heard. They were shouting stuff that was like, I'm the professor of setting things on fire, and that one dude just like smash, 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 smash. I was like, okay, I don't really dig the dialogue. I thought it was a little like kind of a step backwards in terms of how good Arkham's dialogue is.
To be fair, I never thought Arkham's was that great either, because all I can picture is, it's the bat!
That's what I'm saying, compared to that one, which still had kind of dumb stuff. So I didn't care for that, but as far as the look goes, I'm like, because you gotta remember, this game was originally set to come out in 2021, but the developers announced that the game had been pushed back to give it a year and give it more time to get the best experience. So we already have a year of going, okay, they know that it doesn't look as good as it needs to be, so let's push it back, because this game, as of now, is coming out October 25th. And the other thing that they did, which was notable, is they dropped the last gen. This thing is coming out for Xbox Series X and S and PS5, as well as the PC. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, it pushed back a year. It's coming out on the next gen hardware. This thing should look crystal clear and clean. And even in the very beginning, I saw clipping and things like that, like the leaves that were dipping in and out of it. Her outfit looked a little off. So as far as the way, because I think your question was, how does the game look for you? And if it did anything more or less, for me, it kind of took me a step backwards. I'm like, this game does not look as good as I thought it did. And even when we were seeing kind of a couple of the demos, because we've seen the Robin, the Nightwing, the Red Hood, and we were all kind of like, it looks cool, but like they need to clean it up a little bit. I felt like for being 2 months later, it still looks just as unpolished as it did 2 months ago. And
Right.
I really, really hope that come October that this thing is picture perfect, because I don't want to play an exclusive next-gen game that looks like something I'm playing on the Xbox One or the PS4. And that was my biggest gripe.
Yeah, I was going to say, I will say that I kind of maybe let it go a little bit because I was like, okay, you know, it is what it is. Especially, too, because I think I was like, oh man, this kind of looks very comic booky because now you have Barbara with like the bright yellow in her outfit. I'm like, okay, it's not all like dark and gloom like the past Batman games were, though. I'm like, okay, maybe, obviously it has nothing to do with how it's going to run, but I was letting something slide and just kind of blinded by it. But thinking about it now, I'm like, yeah, you know, it almost kind of sucks too that thinking Arkham Knight, for all of its faults, was a way better looking game from the first time you ever saw it to when it released than I think this has looked at all, period. And that came out on like the OG Xbox One.
Yeah.
And even then it was a beautiful game.
Yeah, and again, though, I'm not a graphic stickler, but if your question is you don't like the way it looks, I'm with you. I noticed it. I mean, obviously the game looks fun. I'm going to have a blast with it. I'm going to get it. I'm not going to dock it a ton of points because it looks maybe last gen. But I did notice what you're saying, and it was the first thing I saw. I'm like, why does this thing still look like I'm watching the PS4 demo and not a crispy PS5? Because it was running on the PS5, and I'm like, I hope that they can solve that, because it won't bother me, but you will be crucified if you come out with a game that looks last gen and you exclusively made this whole thing of being like, oh, we're dropping PS4 and Xbox One, but you still look, you know, last gen. So I don't know. For me, I noticed it, and I hope they really can kind of clean that up.
Hopefully it was an old build.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to add on Gotham Knights gameplay?
Nah.
The link is in the description, guys, so if you do want to see all 16 minutes of it, hit that link and you can check it out there if you have not seen it. So, thank you for the question. And the next question comes from John B., and he writes, the impossible has been done.
Sure has.
Yeah, the Halo 2 challenge has been accomplished. Did you guys see this, and what are your thoughts? So, for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, I did kind of want to read a couple things real quick just to kind of catch you up of what actually happened. So, this comes from Fanside, and it says, the object of the challenge is fairly simple to keep track of. All you have to do is complete a LASO Halo 2 campaign run. If you are unfamiliar with the term LASO, it stands for Legendary All Skulls On. There is a total of 14 skulls in Halo 2, and each skull makes the game a bit more difficult, except for the Envy Skull, which makes your experience easier. The Envy Skull is the only skull that needs to be turned off, but the other 13 skulls must be turned on. The game also has to be played on Legendary difficulty, and there is one last catch. You have to do all of this without dying once. So that's been widely considered the hardest challenge that's ever been out in the gaming space. I mean, obviously subjective to each their own, but that is widely considered one of the hardest ones. So here's what was added to make the challenge worth doing. And this comes from Kotaku, and it says, they said it was impossible, and for nearly 2 decades that seemed to be the case. But last night, a streamer named Dravalin beat Halo 2's LASO's Deathless Challenge, earning a cool $20,000 in the process. Talk about finishing the fight. Let's rewind. Earlier this summer, the YouTuber Charles Critical White Jr. posted a $5,000 bounty to beat Halo 2 on the highest difficulty setting, with every bonus challenge modifier turned on without dying. In the 18 years since Halo 2's 2004 release on Xbox, no one had ever published evidence of completing the challenge. White's challenge stipulates that the whole run is streamed either on YouTube or Twitch. By July, no one had successfully stepped up to the plate, so last month, White tacked an extra $15,000 onto the bounty. Now, both articles are going to be in the description if you want to continue reading them. This is wild stuff, man. This is something, again, like the article says, 18 years it's never been done, and it's almost like, is it only done because there was a payoff at the end? Or do you think people are still actively trying to do this if they thought it was going to be impossible? I mean, you saw it. What are your thoughts?
I'm sure there's tons of people still trying it, and maybe more so after the bounty was added, because again, the Halo is one of those things that's constantly ran, especially among speedrunners, people who want to do all kinds of challenges, because with that one, again, yeah, the Envy Skull has to be off, but there's certain levels where as soon as you start, before you can even spawn in, you can die from like getting shot or something like that. So that's what makes this thing so hard, is there's just a lot of unpredictability that goes into it. I saw when people were hyping up and saying like he's getting close towards the end, and I caught a little bit of it, and I watched him play for like about an hour, and again, he's better than I could ever be, but I did watch like the final, I think, like 30 minutes of it, because I think that's what everyone knows him as Moist Critical is what his big channel is, and he was watching it himself, and he was saying like, damn, it's even he was on edge, and he was super glad to give away 20 grand to such a good cause, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, because this thing is ridiculously hard. Like Andrew was saying, like you can die in the first episode. So not only are you getting like RNG kind of stats based on where enemies are coming from, but the skulls alone make it almost impossible to do. But one of the things you got to know, so the challenge, I think he beat it in what, 6 hours and 40 minutes, 7 hours, something like that.
6 hours,
and then one of the other stipulations was, though, if you can do any kind of glitches that will get you through levels, then that was accepted, and that was one of the big things he was doing. And there's a link in the description you can check out. But like he was doing things like butterfly skipping, and he was ghosting through walls, which obviously it was legal to win the money, but it's like, it almost seems like you couldn't. I think it would be impossible if you had to play it legit without doing these kind of little tricks and things like that. And one of the things I was reading too is that the percentage of people who can get past level 1 and 2 is so small. Like not many people can even get past the first level or the second, let alone get to the end of the run. So one of the things they were kind of boasting about this guy is that he's been heavy in the Halo 2 scene for a long time, and they were saying that like the commitment and knowledge of these levels and the run would take years to like do over and over and over again. So I don't know, it's really impressive to see. It's really cool. I wish it was more than 20 grand. It doesn't seem like that was enough, but I almost wonder if this is like the 2-minute mile. Like now that it has been done, are we going to start seeing a number 2, a number 3, a number 4 come out of the woodworks when for 18 years we didn't see anyone do it? Now that it's been done, are more people going to try to go out of their way and do it? Now that you actually have a physical run, you can watch and see what he's done.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe that'll turn into some sort of like speedrunning maybe style event. But I'm really interested too to see like what other, because again, I've never, I guess, really thought about it, especially too because you have people that beat like fucking Dark Souls with like a guitar hero fucking guitar. Like what other kind of challenges that or like this that are things that people try that are out there that haven't been done for maybe not 18 years, but I mean even 5 years is a really long time in video game time for something to not be done.
Yeah, dude. I was reading the other. What was the other one? The dude beat Super Mario 64 blindfolded. It's like there's crazy shit out there that people can do. So I don't know. I am. Yeah. What's the next one now? Because if the mountain's been climbed, what's the next Everest? If this was the hardest one and now that's been done, what will be the next most challenging thing ever? Like a speed run of Elden Ring blindfolded or something like that.
I think that's something people are adding in now because before there was a run I think that this guy was doing that you can't get hit at all, and he beat all the Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro.
Oh, like back to back to back?
And this was all before Elden Ring came out. Yeah, just beating them back to back, and I'm like, damn, to do all those without getting hit is insane.
Yeah, so
I can't even do it without dying.
Yeah, it's nuts, and congratulations to him. 20 grand's 20 grand. So I don't know, it's really impressive to see. Is there anything else you want to add on that? Any
no, I'm super impressed, and I mean, good for him.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It's worth watching, even if you're gonna watch like the last 30 minutes of it. It's a very interesting video. So thank you for the question. The next one comes from Kimmy T, and she writes, "I'm a huge fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I just saw Seth Rogen is making a new movie with them. Is this a good idea? I did not like the Michael Bay movies. I hope this isn't bad either." So yeah, recently the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles property has kind of been in a resurgence. A lot of people, whether you like the Michael Bay ones or not, it is getting kind of more popularity. But yeah, Seth Rogen and his team are in the works of making this. And so from Screen Rant, it just kind of points out that Seth Rogen's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated reboot has revealed its new title and logo. Rogen is producing the reboot for Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon Movies with longtime writing and producing partner Evan Goldberg and James Weaver. The movie will be directed by Jeff Rowe, who co-directed the hit animated feature The Mitchells vs. the Machines for Netflix. So all that's been shown out right now is the logo, which is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, so we know the name. And they've also announced that the release date is going to be August 4th of 2023. I do like this team. You got to remember, Seth Rogen and these guys are responsible for bringing, a big part of bringing The Boys to light, which was this hard rated R live action superhero show that has been excellent. They're also, behind doing Invincible, which is a rated R animated project that's doing excellent. So the fact that I'm seeing these guys kind of take control of another comic book property, I feel like it's probably in some safe hands. Some guys that know how to not only do it in live action with obscure properties and animation, but now you've got something that you can really sink your teeth into. Because from what I was reading on the IMDb trivia, it says the film and origin story uses elements from both the Mirage comics and the 1987 cartoon. So
that'd be cool.
With having so much to pull from, I feel like this is a team. If we had to pick top 5 teams, I feel safe that these guys are going to do a good job.
Yeah, I would say as long as obviously I don't think he would try to turn it into like his own like Pineapple Express Sausage Party. Like he's obviously got his style of comedy. As long as it's not something like that, then I think it'll be fine. I feel like if somebody would get it, it would be Seth Rogen. I don't see why not.
Well, the other thing is like, because again, if they're going to pull from the 1987 cartoon, that's extremely
dated.
Dated and more kind of comedy based, where I was kind of hoping this would be kind of more like the movies that's more darker. So I don't, do you think it'll be more of a mix of both, or do you think it'll lean in a certain direction?
I hope that it's more, and maybe not as dark, even though it has its moments. Maybe like a modern, like Batman the Animated Series, like kind of where people are getting hurt, there is crime, and it is like a problem, and it's not like, oh, don't go over there, there's just this gang on the other side of the city that we just like it is a real fucking problem, but it does have its like comedic elements, and like Batman the Animated Series did have its lighthearted and some of its comedic stuff, and it wasn't as dark, like a little bit more of a medium from something like that with a modern take.
Well, how do you like the fact that it's going to be animated? Like, because it seems
I feel like that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, because after seeing obviously like the Ninja Turtles, Batman versus the Ninja Turtles, which was a cool interpretation,
right?
And then the other TMNT movie that came out in 2007, I feel like Turtles needs to be animated. We've seen what you do when there's only certain properties that can mix CGI with live action, right? And Disney has been doing a fairly interesting job with it when you watch things like Jungle Book and Aladdin and things like that, or even Sonic and Detective Pikachu. But we saw the Michael Bay movies, and they're clearly not for everybody. Even if you look at movies like the Transformers, those have kind of been in a very steady decline, even though they make gangbuster money. I like the idea that it's going to be an animated focus, because then you can get away with doing cooler shit. I mean, the title of it's called Mutant Mayhem. I want to see crazy ass mutants. I want to see the Bebop and Rocksteadies in a new kind of look, the Baxter Stockmans, the Krangs, and things like that.
Yeah,
so
I feel like
I'm looking forward to that.
Live action would look stupid. You have this big fucking huge like fat guy with like this weird living thing and like where his stomach is supposed to be. Would make no fucking sense. Like, how do you translate that to like live action to look good? You just don't.
Yeah, the other thing I want to point out is that there was another logo that they kind of showed that was it was a mural that they did in New York City. And it's got the title, but it's also got some some background funk on it. It looks like they kind of painted some ooze coming down that kind of drips into the sidewalk.
You ooze, you lose.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I hope they bring Ivan Ooze and do the Power Rangers crossover.
Oh,
but get the same actor who played Ivan Ooze.
Let me ask you this: obviously now they're officially calling them the Mutant Mayhem. Are the Turtles capable of taking out anybody that you think in the X-Men? They're fellow mutants. Are they strong enough? Are they badass enough?
Maybe Jubilee.
They go toe to toe with some Wolverine. I don't know. Overall, I think it looks good. I like the logo. I like the date because they announced it we knew it was coming, but when they did this logo, they're saying in a year from the day this movie will be out, and it's going to be in theaters. So I'm psyched about that as well.
I just hope they keep the same theme song, but maybe give it like a modern like take on it though, because that's the only thing that does hold up from that old show is the theme song.
Well, the Shredder's Revenge, they do a take on the old song, and I thought it was awesome. I
remember you showed me that. Yeah, just take that and put that in there.
Nice. Yeah, so not really much else to go on. I'm sure as more things pop up, we'll kind of touch on it. Was there anything else you want to add on that?
Nah.
Alrighty, so the final question, guys, comes from Chewbacca Baraka, and they write, I watch your guys' show, and I know you're not big on more Star Wars that doesn't expand the galaxy and focuses on the same people, but you can't tell me that new Andor trailer doesn't look pretty cool. Andrew, why don't you go first, because I got to gather my thoughts.
I actually just watched that before we did the episode, because I'd seen this question. I've been meaning to watch the trailer, and I hadn't gotten to it, and I honestly don't think it looks really that cool. Like, I don't understand the purpose of it. We got all our questions answered in Rogue One. Like, I don't really get who the show's for. I just can't get past the, like, what are we doing in this fucking timeline? I don't understand why we have to keep filling in all the gaps of shit that doesn't matter. And I think this show's already been approved for season 2, right? It's like, we know how it ends, so, like, what's it even matter? Like, I don't get it. I don't get who it's for, or, I'll jump to you because I'm just going to keep going on about how I hate it.
What I'm upset about is, like, why are we making prequels to prequels now? Like, you got to remember, Rogue One was kind of this pocket movie that fit into before A New Hope that explained why the Death Star is able to be destroyed the way it is. Rogue One was cool. It was like, okay, this movie fits. The fact that you're making now a prequel to that,
right?
What more do I need to know? Like, so this is what it says. It says the newest Star Wars television series will tell the story of a dark period in the life of future Rogue One hero Cassian Andor, and he decides how far to go in his lifelong battle against the oppressive forces. And it's a cool idea, and maybe if they never made the new trilogy, this should have been something they did. This is good Star Wars, but it's like, why are we making a prequel to a prequel? And we know what happens, like, we know the outcome, but with all the negativity being said, this does look cool. Like, this looks infinitely better than Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it looks well done.
This looks better. This looks infinitely better than Boba Fett. This looks on par, I would probably imagine, with The Mandalorian in terms of storytelling. It is going to be, I believe, 13 episodes, and it's a killer cast. The movie, when you watch the trailer, both of them, I think there's 2 out, maybe 3, it looks cinematic, and that's the biggest difference. The other shows look like garbage, trash Netflix shows or Disney Plus shows. This looks movie quality.
I'll tell you, if they do make it 13 episodes, that's 12 too many. I could wrap it up for you in one. No one likes living under a dictator, so that's why he became a hero at the end.
Hey, and that's all you need. And I will say this, though. If I'm remembering correctly, this season is supposed to take place, I think, within a year. The next season that they do is going to be blocks of 3 episodes, and every 3 episodes is going to represent another year of him moving forward. So, like, it's a cool concept. It's a cool premise. Everybody looks sick as fuck. I liked the way Mon Mothma was in there. We obviously love Stellan Skarsgård. And Diego Luna, I really enjoy him as an actor, but it's like, what are you going to show me that I don't already know? Like, right? What am I going to see that's going to be like, oh, cool. At least with Obi-Wan, you know, the thing that was sitting in the back of everyone's mind was the Darth Vader. What's going to happen with him and Darth Vader? At least with Boba Fett, we go, oh, what happens to him after the Snarlack pit, and what happens with Jabba's criminal underworld? I don't know what you're trying to show me in this show. Like,
for something I know how it ends.
Yeah, this guy infiltrates the Empire and does what? Like, we already know that the next movie is how they get the plans to get the Death Star fucked up. So what is this show about? I mean, and again, we're speaking out of turn. When it comes out, I might go, dude, this is the best Star Wars I've seen in decades. But as of right now, it's like I can't get more hype for another show that's a prequel to New Hope's prequel Rogue One. It's like, move forward. Why are we going backwards still?
And take all that with the fact that I love Rogue One. I would put
Rogue One too, yeah,
over most of the Star Wars movies. I thought that movie was great, but again, with how it's been right now, especially trying to fill in all the gaps, I was just telling Craig, I was like, yeah, I have like Marvel and fucking
Star Wars fatigue.
I can't say I have DC fatigue because they can't get their shit together. I wish that was the case, but man.
Yeah, so as of now, and again, the trailer looks awesome. You know, your question, you know, did it look cool? Yeah, this thing looks epic on scale. This thing looks, if you're into the espionage kind of behind the scenes working man's empire, then this show looks obviously like for you. I love that we didn't see one goddamn lightsaber. We didn't see anybody use the Force. I like that they're not going to be relying on that. This will be kind of boots to the ground kind of Star Wars. So it looks cool, and obviously I'll watch. I had to stomach through Obi-Wan. At least this looks entertaining. So I definitely will watch it. I'm not impressed by the backward storytelling that we continuously do with something like Star Wars that I used to love.
Well, here, let's do one even further, and let's get like a fucking Shmi Skywalker saga going next.
God, I hate it. So thank you for the question. And guys, if you had thoughts on any of the things that we answered, leave them down below. And again, feel free to leave as many questions as possible. We love doing episodes like this where we can just kind of take your questions. And a nice little mailbag episode, if it were. So with that down and out of the way, guys, that is the end of episode 142. Be sure to join us next time for episode 143. And until next time, guys, my name is Craig Perales. This is Mandrew Montemare. Cheers.
See ya.
Because I was the ultimate snowball warrior.
Oh, Yeah, because it's Dexter's dad. Yeah, Dexter's dad does that voice too for the kids next door. And it's really funny. Ah, man, I'm trying to think of some of the episodes he's in, but his voice is just absolutely
iconic, dude. His voice is as good as it reminds me of like Stu Pickles on Rugrats. He just has like that. He can have that deep, like just funny voice regardless of what he's saying.
You know, Stu and Dee Dee are like fucking like 34.
That's so weird. I literally was watching Rugrats again too the other day, and I told Deandra that, and I'm like, yeah, they're supposed to be like our age right now. They're like 34, and they're 35.
Like run down. Like when I look at it now, I never would have guessed it that old. I would have guessed like late 40s.
Yeah. Stu because he looks beat sometimes.
What are you doing? Making pudding because Angelica wants pudding.
It's 3:00 in the morning. I have no control of my life. Dude, the banter between Stu and Drew is some of the best shit, too. Hey, little brother. Hey, big brother.